Sorry about that. We'll make sure that the videos are on the professional development sites once they are uploaded. They'll be on the elementary, middle school, and the high school sites for you to review later if you need to.
And I'm Paula Bichetti. For those of you who don't know, I teach at Colonia High School. I teach graphic design and web design. And I'm Google Level 1 and 2 certified. And I've been, figuring out how to do all this, teaching my 2 kids, a kindergartner and a 5th grader, and a high school kid. But I'm here today to show you a little bit more about Google Sites. So I guess we can get started with that. Whoops. So just a couple of norms before we continue. Please keep yourself muted. If you want to speak, you can raise your hand in participants. It's located at the bottom of your screen. Please use the chat. Also, it's below at the bottom of your screen. If you want to ask any questions, if you want to request any future professional development, we definitely want to hear from you. So, like I said, we're here to talk about Google Sites. Google Sites does a lot of different stuff. You can contact students, parents, colleagues, import assignments from your Google Classroom, pretty much everything that SchoolWires does, but at least in my opinion, Google Sites is a way easier platform to work with. It will let you incorporate your calendars, and there's many, many different ways to personalize it for yourself. There's a bunch of different examples here on the slideshow. You can get to that slideshow. I know Wendy said that she shared that in the chat. So I'm not going to click on everything right now because I do want to get to how to actually work in Google Slides. We're going to be going through all these different steps, creating your site, pages and inserting, publishing and updating, inserting a Google Calendar, and there's also a video tutorial on all of this stuff at the end of the slideshow, which is accessible to you once we're out of this. I'm going to switch over to hosting. I think Brian's going to take over.
Yep.
And I'm going to get to him now.
I am the host. Okay.
You are the host.
Alrighty. Let's get this going here. Okay. Over to this and that, and we'll be ready to roll. All right, everybody. Google Sites is pretty darn intuitive. I think it's much more friendlier than SchoolWires. It gives you a much better chance to build it exactly how you want to. It gives you a chance to kind of show off a little bit of your personality, which I appreciate too. I feel like SchoolWires, you really had to go out of your way to try and make it seem like it was yours. Sites, that's not the case at all. It becomes pretty obvious pretty early on that you can really do a lot with this, or you can keep it simple too. So if you want to get started on any site, let me get this toolbar out of the way. You can get going on a few different ways. I encourage you to start trying to build a site now, and then as you have ideas, you can just keep adding to it. It's going to be in your Google Drive. And it'll stay there. You can type in sites.new to get going on a new website today. And then once you get going on that, as long as it's your profile in the top right corner, like mine's right there, this is going to end up in your Google Drive, okay? If you wanted to start from your Google Drive, you could start that way as well. The new button, it's one of the new things. If you scroll down to more, there's Google Sites. You can get to a new site that way too, just as you would get to a new doc, a new sheet or a new slide or a new form. It's in there, all right? And then it's in there. It's listed like a file. So this is the one I've been working on for the past couple of weeks. It's in there like a file, like a doc file. It's just sitting there in your Drive. Except the only difference is that it's available to the rest of the world. If they have the link, they can view it. So. Here's mine in the building window. It's in the building window because it's a little bit smaller looking, and then you have this toolbar off to the right here. So I got into it a little bit here. So that's just my home page, and then you have all your extra pages off to the side there. So all right, so we'll hop back over to the slides there. Any questions on that? So get going. Just sites.google.com houses all of yours. If you want to pull your information away from Google Drive, if you want to just see all the sites you're working on, that's an easy way to get to that. But you can always add, you can always find it in your Drive, like we said. All right. And the best thing, really, your best friend when you get going on any new, I'll go to the one that we're using for this demonstration here. Your best friend, and the one that I click the most and on this entire layout right here is this preview button right here. This preview button lets you know, okay, I did some things. What's it going to look like? And so this is what it would look like. There's not much going on here for a desktop, and then you can actually switch to how it would look on a tablet or how it would look on a phone. And I actually thought it was pretty interesting. For instance, for me with mine, I did not realize how different mine would look on this is on a desktop, this is on a Chromebook, how it would appear, and then how it would appear on a phone is very different. I didn't think about that. So you can't even see me, I'm cut off. There's no little Mr. Finnegan saying hi to you anymore there. So these are things you might want to consider, and that's why I'm saying your preview button is your best friend, and then if you hit this X on the bottom, you get out of preview mode, and you're right back to it. You're right back to building, changing whatever you want. And this is your save button over here. So you'll get to a point where you'll want to save all that stuff. We'll get more to that later. So, okay. Hopping back, moving on. I just showed you all this. This is a nice little slide just to show you kind of if you wanted to find it in Drive, this holds your hand and gets you to Drive. And so now you're building a site. And so you're going to want to figure out how many pages you want and what you want to insert on each page. And so for me, I kind of thought, okay, I'm going to want a home page, just a kind of like an intro page. And then I'm going to want a page for each of my classes. And then a page for my tennis team. And so I figured I have that. So I figured I'd start with that. And then when you get creating, you'll realize, oh, I'm going to want to add maybe sub-pages to this, or I'm going to want to separate this from here. So that can all be done. You are the controller of all this. So I'd encourage you to add a page for every course. And I'm thinking even go as far as maybe add a page for every block that you teach. Just because if you choose to link things to Google Classroom, you might be linking to one class and not the other, and they may not have access. So it might be smarter to keep your blocks separate if that's what you do in Google Classroom. So keep that in mind. And then it's very intuitive. There's an insert tab, and we'll come on over here. We'll get out of preview mode. This is preview mode for that. So this is your first page. We can call this the home page for now. Home page, it's as simple as that to change the name of the page. Here's your little toolbar. You have your three, I guess, tabs for this. This is your insert tab. Insert will allow you to add anything you want to this page. And then when you go over the pages, now you can build how many pages you want. So for instance, maybe we want a page for biology, my biology block 1 class. Type in there. Now I got a new page on the website. Simple as that. And then maybe we can go a step further. Like I said, I had my tennis. Maybe I'll throw my tennis team in there too. Boys tennis. Tennis is good enough for this. There we go. So now I have a few pages. All right. 1, 2, and 3. So once you have your pages, now you're going to want to have something on the page, right? And so they give you some layouts. It's very similar to PowerPoint or slides. They have layouts. You can stay in that structure, or you can start manipulating that structure when you're in there. So let's start with this layout right here, nice and simple. These boxes are nice because they give you some options as far as what you want to add and where you want to add it from. You can embed a calendar, YouTube. You can even add the map to the school if you wanted to. Some of these kids, they have a hard time finding our building, so you can get that right on there. And then you can add whatever you wanted to. If you wanted a welcome blurb, this is for practice, right? And you go, is that going to look okay? Go right back to that preview. I'll go to the Chromebook preview, and then I say, okay, I'm onto something here. All right, and so it's that simple, and you can embed whatever you want in this. So if you scroll a little bit further down here, you have all these options here, and I'm a big fan of the button. I add buttons to a lot of my pages. If I hop on over here, like for instance, I got a little crazy with my my tennis team here. I have a sub page. I'll show you what sub pages are. So right here for my Colonia tennis team, I've added a page, and it's very simple. You just drag to pull it off of the page. So now it's its own page. I wanted to put that roster as a part of my tennis page. Now it's a sub page. So now it's part of a drop down, just like that. So that's a sub page. And when I went to my subpage, I actually made a button for every player on my team has a button. The big thing in tennis now is that they link all my guys to a I can't click it in. I have to go back to preview mode here. They have all of them with their tennis ratings, and so they're very aware of their tennis ratings. That's the thing. They want all of our matches would be logged into a website, so they actually have access. They can see their tennis ratings all through this. So it's my man Drew. He was going to do big things this year, and so it goes right to this website. So I thought that'd be nice to make that available to all of them, all in the same place there. So there you go with that. So questions with any of this stuff? I'm going to hop over to the chat. As far as adding, I didn't know what I wanted to add specifically. I don't know what's obvious or what isn't obvious here. Everything does automatically save, Teresa. And any other questions here? I don't hear anybody. It's always so weird to be knowing that talking to so many people and hearing no one. So I'm still getting used to that. If we're good there, I think that's a good start. Just kind of an intro on pages and inserting things. I guess I'll show you the button real quick. Like I said, if you wanted to add a button, like I would literally just call it Drew. That's Drew's name, and then the link to the actual website. They always offer you, if you want to link to the pages in your site. But you can find any link you want from anywhere and add that there too. Like I did, I used that tennis rating site, and then once you have, I'll just call it Google for now. I'm lying. You're not going to see Drew's rating right now. But once that button pops up, you can make it larger. You can drag it if you want it in the middle. You can manipulate the color on it if you'd like. Right now it's emphasized. You can even find an image if you wanted to put an image behind that button. So there's lots of things, and like I said, play around with it, and then hit the preview tab and see what it looks like, right? And I'm going to go to Google. I end up in Google because that's what I wrote there. So that's just a little bit of the beginning of starting your page, learning to love preview mode, and then just constantly checking what you're up to and how it's looking.
Brian, I think Joanne had a question.
Yes. Oh, is there any way to get my school wires pages into the Google site? It's not just, unfortunately, you can't just save and then drop. But if you went to your Google Wires page, what I did, so I'll show you, for instance, if you go to Finnegan, here's my page. So this was my front page, right? My About Mr. Finn. What I did was I went into that, I signed in, I used the the site manager, and I just was like kind of copying and then pasting things, right? So I would copy this little blurb about Mr. Finn, and then I would dump it right here in the home here, right? So I literally just added a text box, and then just dropped it in there that way. I had a big syllabus on my school wires page. Zoom toolbar, get out of the way. Where's my syllabus at? Here we go. So I had a pretty sizable syllabus on all the things I covered for biology, for instance, and I actually just turned it into a Google Doc, and then I embedded it. So for biology, where did I put it? Oh shoot, it's not here. It's somewhere. I have a Google Doc that's embedded. So I made a doc. I just copy and pasted everything onto the doc, and then I was able to embed the doc right into the site. And if that's how you want to run your site, that's fine. Maybe it's in one of my my pages that I'm hiding. I'm not. What do I do with that thing? Aha! There she is. So she was hiding. So this is literally a doc that was embedded right here. And you can even jump out of and jump right into the Google Doc that I made. There it is, right? So I literally, all I did was I just copied and pasted all this, dragged it, pasted it onto a doc. There it is, maybe cleaned up the formatting a little bit. And then I just embedded the doc when I could insert. I inserted a doc as my options are right there. And that was one of the options I put right there. I put it just like right in there. I hit the insert page, done and done. So for instance, I have my like little colonial lineup. I'm definitely going to add that there too. So there's plenty of things that you can show off. The transferring might be a little difficult, but it's not too bad. Unfortunately, it's not a copy all and paste. You'll have to do a little building here. Just checking to see any other questions before I pass on to, I give it back to Pallavi or Wendy. Pallavi, okay. Let's see, any question. What is the box next to welcome? Is it just an option to add an image? Yep, it's an option to add an image or anything. Really anything. You can add a video. If you wanted to do an intro video, if that's your thing. Okay, that was a good time for me to pass this on.
Yeah, I'm taking that over, Fun.
All right, it's the hardest part.
I know.
It's finding the host. You're taking it, Wendy, or Pallavi?
Yeah, I'm taking it. We're going to talk about publishing and editing. We're going to talk about that little blue button a little bit up in the top corner.
Perfect. Wendy, you're not Wendy. Where are
I
you?
should be.
It's just the Barons down there. Let's see. Let me scroll. They put you all the way up to the top. You're a big deal now. Oh, because once you unmute, you go up to the top. There we go.
There we go.
All right, friends. We're Zoom.
All right. So I am going to share my screen. Give me a minute. Okay. So, okay. Now we're out to my screen. We talked about how to get a page set up. We talked about things that we can put in these pages. So we are now going to talk a little bit about publishing the pages. So when you're publishing the page, what you're doing is you're actually putting it out for the world to see. All of the stuff that we did with Brian so far gets you the page created. It gives you the opportunity to move things around, gives you an opportunity to look at them, design, and all of those wonderful things. What you now want to do, though, is you now want to publish it so that you can make all that information that you took all that time to create live for the world to see. So the way in which we do that, okay, Gail is trying to get back in, so let us let her back in. All right, give me 1 second. I have a couple of people that are, okay, a couple of people that are having some issues getting back in. All right. So we are, wow, my screen share is blocking my ability to get to the slide. All right, here we go. If we're in the site itself, all right, so Brian created this page, and now we are going to, now we are going to come up here to this publish button. The publish button right now, as you see it, sits so that nothing's happened yet. So we're going to hit that publish button. and this box is going to come up. And in this box, you need to give it, so you need to finish the web address. So we're going to call this high school Google Basics. No slashes, no special characters. You can use dashes. So, all right. So we're going to call this high school. No, it doesn't like that either. All right. All right. Really? All right. All right, we're going to call it sample site, and maybe that will work. Okay, so sample site is going to work. The next thing that we want to do is we want to come down here to who can view my site. You are going to want to click manage. You are going to want to let this box open up. The important thing here, you want to look at this published. Anything that you're generating in the moment generally defaults to the idea anyone in Woodbridge Township can find and view it. These sites that we're creating are pages that represent us similar to our SchoolWire sites. So what we need to do is we need to click on the change, and then we need to actually change it to anyone can find and view the published version. And that will make you available out in the world and not just inside the Woodbridge Township Google bubble. Okay, so now that that has changed, as you can see at the moment, I own the site. Brian can edit and make changes to it, and Paolo can edit and make changes to it because the three of us are all working on this particular site together to show you guys how to do this. From there, certainly if it was your own site and you're the only one that's working on it, you would want to potentially take those people out, at which point you would just click on this little X and it would tell you you need to save the changes, and this would say save changes instead of done. So we've made this so that anybody can find it. So we have an address, anybody can find it. One of the things that you could do and is you can certainly click this request public search engines not display my site, and you won't necessarily be found if somebody Googles you. I wouldn't necessarily do that. There's no reason for us not to be able to find each other. And then once you have all of those fields situated, you're going to hit publish. So your site has been successfully published. Now you'll see that this link icon up here is now visible. If you click on that, you now have the published site link. So what you can do is copy the link, and then that'll be the information that you would either get to whoever's running the Apogee page for your building, or it's something that you could certainly put on your Google Classroom or any place that you need to get that published link to somebody. Now, let's say that I need to make changes. Like, let's say that I was going to add an image of a tennis ball or a tennis racket or something. I can come up here. There's a variety of ways I can look for images, but just for the sake of changing the website, we are going to look for a tennis racket real quick, which I did not spell real well, but that's okay. That's besides the point right now. All right, so we have a tennis racket. So I'm going to insert this tennis racket onto this page. So I've now made a change to my page. If I look at it in preview, it's there. If I look at it on my published site right now, it is not. So what I need to do once I've published my site and I've made a change to that site, I need to come up here and I'm going to review my changes and I'm going to publish it. And it's going to show me what changes I made, which is this first piece, versus what it looks like to the world right now. So once I see that those two things match up, all right, I did want to add this tennis racket. I'm going to press publish one more time. And now my site's been updated. So if I go back out to a live version of my site, my tennis racket is now there. All right. So let's see. We want to make sure we publish. We went over all of these things. Let me unshare the screen so we can see if there's any questions, any confusions. All right, let's see here a second. All right, Apogee is the new school wires. The reason that we have to set it up public is so that parents can see it. Those of you that come from Colonia High School know how that works when we have to make our calendars public so that parents can see them. And actually, Palavai is going to talk to us a little more about calendars. Let me see if, all right, school wires, cut and paste. I went a little too far up on the chat. So yeah, so we're transitioning away from school wires to Apogee. Google Classroom and Google Sites are two separate things. Google Classroom is the house through which you push your class out to your students, whereas Google Sites is a place for web creation, and Google Sites is going to take over where your teacher page for school wires left off. So hopefully, Sue, that answers that question. Let's see, what else? Yeah, we can't use Google. Google doesn't want you to use Google, but it's okay. Let me see what else. Anybody have any additional? All right, yes, Jackie, we do want to change it. Otherwise, parents and other people can't see it, which makes it useful for us, but useless to the rest of the world. Now, if you, like in a situation such as yours or the counselors or the nurses, if you wanted to create a site or pages where you wanted to house information that you want to get to us as staff or specifically as students, then you wouldn't necessarily make it public. So you'd have that potential on that. Any other questions? Because if there are not, I am going to switch over hosting back to Palavai, and she's going to talk to us about the calendar component. All right, let's see. Now I just have to find her. She should be at the top.
Yeah.
Hold on. There you are. All right. All right, so I am making you the host. Yes, I do. I want to change it, and now you should be.
All righty.
Awesome.
All right. So I'm going to continue where Wendy left off. And this is obviously not that. We're going to talk a little bit about how to insert your calendar. I know that's a big thing at the high school level. We want to be able to, we want to be able to show our Google Classroom calendar, make that available to parents as well as anyone else that wants to look at that kind of information without having to log into their WTSD account. So I'm going to go to our, oh, it's not letting me get out. Okay, let's go to here. All right, so we have this page which Brian and Wendy were just editing, and I want to be able to add a calendar. So I'm going to use the biology block 1 as an example. I know at Colonia we have to put in our calendar for each of our classes on our school wires. It's going to probably be the same rules for when we move over to Google Sites. So we did want to go over that particular aspect. And the way to do that is once you're on the Google Sites page, on the right side is this little insert panel, which they went over a little bit, but if you scroll down on it, there's an option here for calendar. And once you click on it, it'll show you all the different Google calendars you have or that you are part of. So mine is currently showing all my different classes. And if I click on one, it will automatically, let me just pick one right now. It'll say, do you want to insert it? I'm going to click insert. And it shows up on my screen. It gives you the option to, resize it and kind of move it around the page. Once you get it on the page, you can click on this little settings button, the little cog, and it gives you a couple of different options in terms of what should or should not be on the page, like the title, the date, the navigation buttons, the time zone, the viewer's time zone, etc. You can change the mode from, right now it's in agenda mode, just like a list for today. I like to usually keep it in month mode, but that's, I guess it's your personal preference. One thing to note, you cannot change the title in Google Sites. You have to do that in the calendar itself, and I'll be talking a little bit more about that in a moment. But that's pretty much it for embedding your calendar in there. Because you already have a calendar, when you make a Google Classroom, it already populates whatever you put on there onto a Google Calendar. When you insert that here into Google Sites now, it automatically comes up with all kinds of information. Parents would be able to come here and view it. One really important aspect here, though, is that we have to make our Google Calendar public. So even though the Google site is already public, it doesn't mean that everything that you add onto it is public unless you tell people you want it to be public. So there is a little PDF instruction sheet on the Google Slides, but I will briefly go over how to do that. It's not very difficult. It's just something that we do like once a year or twice a year, so we kind of, I guess we lose practice with it. But to get to our calendar, we can always get to calendar.google.com. If I could spell correctly, that would be good, right? Ah, there we go. It's just not working out today. I'm gonna just click on my little waffle. This is the other way of doing it. If you can't get your period to work instead of your comma, go to your little waffle, those 9 dots in the corner, and you should see a calendar icon somewhere in that list. And here we go. Again, it shows me all the different calendars that I could possibly be part of. You end up with hundreds of calendars sometimes. I try to keep just the ones that are current highlighted. But the way to make this public is if I hover over any of my calendars here, you see these 3 little dots, and I'm going to go to my settings for that particular calendar. And it's pretty easy. We're going to scroll down until we see this area where it says access permissions, and we just have to make sure that this make available to public is available. It has to be checked off. Otherwise, people will go to your site and just see like a little access denied picture there. They won't be able to actually view your calendar. But this is it. We just need to make sure this make available to public thing is set. And then we can go back to any of our other calendars here on the sidebar. Do the same thing for each of them. Just make them all public. That way, when you put them into Google Sites and then you embed them here, when you publish them, they will be available to any of your future viewers. So again, like Wendy was saying, once I add this calendar, I need to make sure I click on the publish button, and it'll show me what's, what new changes I've made, what's actually on the site, public site right now. I'm going to click publish. And now if anyone goes to this particular URL, they'll be able to view my calendar. Next to the publish button is also the view published site. And I'm looking at the published site here. It shows us this calendar here. And it's so easy in Google Sites to just go back with anything that you embed in here to resize it, and kind of make changes that way and publish it. Anytime you make a change to in your Google Classroom, every day when I add like the new do now or whatever assignment it is, it automatically populates here. I don't have to touch this again. And the same goes for if I update any Google Doc that's embedded in my Google site, it automatically kind of changes there on the Google site. So that's a pretty nifty kind of tool that Google Sites has. That's pretty much it for the Google site calendar section, there is, again, there's a little video walkthrough of this thing on the slideshow, as well as an overall like overview tutorial of all the little aspects that we went over in today's training. I'm going to stop sharing. If there's any questions right now, I can answer them, or any of us, Wendy or Brian.
Sue is asking, where do changes in calendar, is the changes in calendar come from Google Classroom? I'm assuming she's trying to ask.
Yeah, they come from Google Classroom.
Yeah.
Anytime I make a change in my
Any post, right? Any assignment post.
Yeah. And you can control that in that permissions for the Google Calendar. You can tell it if you only want to show like a little snippet of some of the announcements. If you just only wanted to show assignments and not like every announcement you make, there's different permissions available in that permissions in the settings for Google Calendar. The question is, where are we posting this PowerPoint? I believe it's going to be on the high school distance learning site. Yeah, which is available through the intranet. If you log into that, there's little links there for PD, and in that there's the high school PD.
Also in your Google Drive.
Yes, also in your Google Drive. True.
Have it starred. That's a good suggestion.
The last day for school wires, I don't think it's been officially posted, but I believe they were saying June 15th is when they want everyone to have their stuff kind of like saved off of school wires.
That said, move it sooner than later
Yeah,
if you have a few minutes.
If you have
Better phone a friend, find a friend.
Yeah.
And the one thing we've also been telling people throughout the trainings today was, if you do make a Google site with your links from your school wires pages, it's not like you have to publish it in June. You could just keep it there. It'll be housed there. It doesn't become live until you hit that publish button. So you could keep the links there that you need for next year and have it ready, and then work on it over the summer, get it together in September, and post it up, and you'll be good to go.
Yeah, you could also, and if you're halfway working on it and you just want something presentable, you can just right-click the pages that you want hidden, and you can hide them for the time being, work on them, and then open them back up. You know, so you got the bare minimum, right? You get the calendars on there, you establish your schedule in one of the pages, and then you can keep working from there.
Now, I just looked at it, Brian. I'm trying to figure out who's on that pillow that's behind your head there. Whose face that is.
You know who it is yet?
I can't see it all that well.
It's funny. It's definitely an actor's face, but as soon as you say another actor, you can't unsee the other face. So it's supposed to be Bill Murray.
Okay.
But oh, what's his name? Who is he's disgraced now. He was in
Kevin Spacey.
Kevin Spacey, there you go. As soon as you think Kevin Spacey, you can't unsee Kevin Spacey. And so it becomes a nightmare pillow out of nowhere. Yeah, so, yeah. That was a white Christmas gift, and I think I won that day with my Bill Murray pillow.
All right, so two things. Sue is asking, should you have a calendar page for each class? You could. If you embed multiple calendars at one time, my best suggestion for you would be to take the title off the calendar, because you'll see all of the assignments layered. You just, unfortunately, it takes on the title of the first calendar that you chose. So Paula, I don't know if you have a better suggestion on that one.
I usually make a different page for each of my classes. So, and I'm within that page, it has like the class information, and then I just put the calendar in there. So I do that separately for each one, but it's, like you said, you could put it all on one page. It's just,
yeah, because I have mine set up like that.
Yeah.
And then Kathy Florman, when school wires is wiped out, will we still? Yes, you'll still be able to get to the trainings. You just won't be able to get to any of your school wire stuff. So the sooner you start moving that for peace of mind, the better off you are.
Yeah. You know what? Make me host. I'll show them a little bit of something about connecting Classroom and and sites if they're curious about that stuff. If you don't mind.
Yeah,
No Zoom for
to
you.
be host now.
We got like 10 minutes to kill here, right? You guys can keep answering questions while I try and set this up. Okay.
I used Mrs. Jaworski as mine. So as far as a web address, use something simple, because when I was setting the one up on the training here, it was being difficult.
Miss Cadets, I think it's going to delete it in a couple of months. If you don't delete it, it's going to go bye-bye. All right, so just another way to connect, well, a couple of ways to connect this. First things first is this top banner is an option that you can add. I've seen a lot of teachers use this just as a way of, like, if a kid ends up on your site and just really needs to get to Google, it's like a nice reminder, oh yeah, I should be going to my Google Classroom. If you click the settings gear, on the very bottom of your options here is the announcement banner. So right now I am showing it. I would make it go away. You change the color of it. You can add a message like I did. And then the nice thing is that you can give it a button, and then you can give that a link. So I just made it very basic, just because I know I'm going to have multiple classrooms. Why don't I just get people over to Google Classroom if they need that extra push? And I figured I can change that later, make it more specific if I only have one Google Classroom or if there's a better solution. But so you can add a banner, or if you have, like, for instance, maybe you want to give attention to a fundraiser. Banners are nice, right? It's a come look at this thing right now kind of a situation, right? So there's that. And then if you go over to classes, so I made a few buttons for stuff. So for instance, in my Google Classroom, I have the safety contract. As a science teacher, you always got to have the safety contract, and then the class guidelines. These are literally just links to the posts of my Google Classroom. So just to show you some of that connectivity, if you go to Classroom, when it loads, and there it goes. So if I go to my my Block 1 biology class, right? If I go to my classwork tab, every one of your posts, you have this option to copy link. So this is my opening week stuff. So my class guidelines, right? If you right click this, there's this copy link thing. And I've had literally no reason to ever use this option until now. When you're building your site, if you want to get some of that connectivity there, you see these are actually all hyperlinks. So you can actually link in, you can apply that link like I did. You can add that link, and then you can give it a fancy little name, so it's not just a long URL. And now you have a link to a specific post in your classroom. So it could be something as basic as guidelines, or maybe you have a big project that you want to make sure that they have the information from the post. So they click that over. Now they're right. Please work. Yeah, there they go. They're right here in that specific post, and here's the guidelines. So it's everything that they needed, and you have that interstitial connection between now your site and your Google Classroom. So that's that there. Okay, so that was that, and that one for 2 more minutes. Anybody else got any other questions about anything that they see? Like, I feel like I wanted to give the ladies a chance to talk, but if there's any other questions about anything else you see going on these sites. Brian, how long did it take you to create your Mr. Finnegan? This, like the Bitmoji Mr. Finnegan? Not very long, and I'm very upset. There's not an option for hair like this. So I didn't think going bald made sense. So I went with the barely hair there option. But it's Bitmoji. If you spend enough time on teacher, like, social media, you see that everyone's got their Bitmoji. Just found out how I really feel about it. But you can download the app. They have an app, Bitmoji, and you can make one pretty quickly. And then there's also a Chromebook extension now too. So if you go to your extension, the web store, you can add your Bitmoji account. You can load it up right here. And then these are all stickers that I can just drag and add. You can save them. You can copy them. In order to get them to your site, I would save them onto your computer and then add them as if they were a picture. But there's a million of them, and you can make even customized ones, right? So if I wanted one for my love for biology, right? They'll populate ones that are literally just for that. So I don't know what any of these actions, maybe the brain exploding for biology, right? Maybe that would fit, and so I would use that one. So so yeah, so I find them to be very silly, so I want to make sure that I use the silliest ones. That's why I have the one of me riding a dinosaur in the beginning. So, but anybody who wants to reach out, I can help you set up your Bitmoji if you'd like.
Brian, can you go over again how you put that link from Google Classroom?
Yeah, go back up to where you put the banner up at the top, because Patty's trying to follow along with you.
Yes. Yeah, sure. Okay, so I'm in preview mode. That's why I can't see my options here. Get out of preview mode. That banner is in the settings right here. It's a new addition, so it's right there on the bottom. It's the announcement banner, and then you want to show it. Obviously, you want to show it. You can pick a color. Blue look good for me. And then you can write your details, your message details there. But ultimately, you want a button. You want a button because you want to direct them to something else. And so I'm directing them to Google Classroom for the time being. So that's why I wrote Google Classroom. And then I just have the link to Google Classroom right there. So, and then what's nice too is if you don't want to direct them away from your Google site, I hope not. So you can have them open that Google Classroom in a new page, in a new tab, so they can go back to your Google site if they need to. They can toggle between the two. So, and then the last option is you can just have that banner only on your homepage, or as I've decided, it's going to be up there above every single page in my classroom. Cool.
Brian, you got one more person who is interested in
how
how you got to the Bitmojis. Yeah.
Yeah. So fastest way is if you click on apps, you have the web store right here. When you get into the web store, so that apps is always the left part of your screen. That's how I get to the apps. You're in the Chrome web store. Type in Bitmoji. There it is. You would add to Chrome, like I already have. That's why my option's right there. But it would be add to Chrome, and then you'd have it. You'd have it right here. But I think the best thing you should do is download the app on your phone first. And then you can make an account, and then you can build your Bitmoji on your phone. It's a little bit easier to do it that way. And then you just log into your account that way. They have the option to log into your account from there. So I would say download the app on your phone, make your funny little cartoon version of yourself, then add the extension, and you'll be good to go. Anything else, my friends? I'm going to stop sharing.
I mean, Colonia people, good news is there's at least 4 of us in the building that can do most of this stuff. So
go to Chris first, because he's been dying to show everybody the Bitmoji. Mr. Malevich wants everyone to use Bitmoji. If you know Chris, that's what he's about.
Kathy Florman, yes, except with a different crew of people, so you may get a slightly different take on it.
Yeah, I know. Pallav, you got another one tomorrow, right? And then me and Wendy are Thursday, 12:45. So
Thursday we're gonna do a little more tips and tricks, though, guys. So we're gonna move through the part that you saw right now much quicker, so we can look at some of the other fun things you can do with it. Yeah, like Monday, treat it as like, okay, here are the very basics. Try and make something, and then you'll have even more questions for us, and we'll try and help you out that way. So. You have homework, my friends. That's what we're saying. Mess around with it so you have places where you're stuck. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think anybody was ready for, is anybody ready to embed videos yet?
No, I
Come
just
back
thought,
Thursday for that?
I figured that's probably, in case people are looking for that, it'd be cool for them to be able to.
Definitely.
I know Mrs. Murphy's got plenty of videos to embed. I know
Murphy's
that.
going to link her YouTube channel. Who are you kidding?
We're gonna have to show her how to embed her TikToks.
That's right.
Oh,
Well,
geez.
I've seen a couple of those TikTok dances. That's for sure. So
Yeah, that stuff's tricky. It took me a little bit to figure out how to embed my my Twitter account. So
no, there's really only two non-negotiables with me, and it's crafts and choreographed dancing. Those are the things that those are non-negotiables for me in my life. Can't do it. I steer away from that completely.
Nice.
So God bless anyone who gets into that. Good for you.
Absolutely.
But feel free to reach out to, I think most of you know where to find us, but those of you from other buildings and walks of the way, please reach out through email. You know, we are certainly available to try to answer questions as best we can. Oh, thank you, Outsby.
You can hear him. I can't hear him.
No, I can't hear him. He's clapping.
Oh.
Said to stay muted. Here. Good job, everybody. Back to mute town.
Thanks, Mike.
But,
All right, friends. It's 3 o'clock.
yeah. So go build. Go out into
Go
the world
build
and
a site.
build.
Go look at our samples too.
Yeah.
Mine shouldn't be the only site you look at. Trust me. There's
Well, you're going down a rabbit hole. So by all means, go.
Alrighty. Love you. So I passed on host to you.
Cool.
Me?
All right.
Miss you too, Jana.
Uh-huh. Aw. All right. So if our building is not officially ahead of the sites curve, nobody's is going to be.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, and Google Sites over Aptigee is